its magic.
David Grossman in California. The famous ink blot images psychologists use to try to understand a patient's subconscious have triggered a major row. A doctor has uploaded all 10 images from the Rorschach test onto the Wikipedia website, as well as the most common responses from patients. The move has angered psychologists who argue making the test public ruins its validity as it gives patients the chance to prepare the answers. So, should the website take the pictures down? With me in this studio is Sadegh Nashat, who is a chartered clinical psychologist at the Tavistock and Portman NHS Foundation. And from San Francisco, we're joined by Jay Walsh from Wikimedia, which runs the Wikipedia site. Before we go on, I should point out the pictures behind me are not the actual Rorschach images, they're simply for illustrative purposes. Sadegh Nashat, why do you think these images should be taken down from Wikipedia?
Well, I think they're not like other images. They're images that are used by psychologists to try to help clients and patients who are experiencing psychological difficulties. And I think the problem with the way it has been put on Wikipedia is that actually you don't really get a choice whether you want to see them or not. You're exposed to them whether you want to.
Well, you can choose to go on the site or not. I mean, presumably people don't come upon the Rorschach
That's
test.
right, but interestingly, I tried today, if you put the Rorschach in Google, one of the first link you will get is Wikipedia.
Yes, I saw that, but then there's a number of others, which...
Of course, but what I mean is that you don't get a warning as well, that you may be able to expose, and that will affect your capacity to pass the test.
Jay Walsh, do you take that on board? A psychologist is saying that it actually impedes your ability to take the test.
It's a really interesting point, and it's an interesting consideration. They're not at the very top of the test page, although there is a schematic that's visible at the top. It raises an interesting point, although I think
raises a really serious
individuals
issue,
who are curious
doesn't it?
about the tests. I'm sorry?
It raises, as well as an interesting point, it is a serious point for clinical purposes.
Right, no, agreed, and I think I mean the article on Wikipedia is really it's a detailed, well-written and well-cited article. It's intended to provide background information, but it's intended to also be entirely encyclopedic, and that includes, of course, in this case, as it stands with the images.
It is in dispute at the moment, though, isn't it?
It is visible. It's visible on the page. Yeah, and this isn't a new debate that's been taking place on Wikipedia. It's been happening for a number of years. It's got one of the longest and most articulate discussion pages. Every Wikipedia article has a long, may have a very short, but some have very long discussion pages discussing these very issues.
But Dr. Nashat, it's new in the sense that we haven't seen these images on Wikipedia before, and if you look at them quite clearly, they show the most obvious response, not the most obvious, but the most regular responses to them. So it's a clinical issue, surely. It's not just an issue of it's possibly a good idea to show them, it's possibly not. For psychologists who use this as part of a package, it is a real problem.
Well, that's right, and I think, to go back to this point, I mean, one of the difficulties is, if you look at the website and you look at the text that is with the images, and to say that, it's comprehensive information is not quite right, because my understanding looking today at Wikipedia is that there is no review. Anyone can go and put whatever they want on it. And then I think it's more difficult when you have misinformation than how you're going to correct that.
Don't you have some kind of moral responsibility to society? Jay Walsh.
You know what? I'll tell you. Wikipedia is about hundreds of thousands of people, so volunteers from all over the world. In fact, I think that they feel more than just about anybody that they have a responsibility to treat this content with great respect, with a great sense of honor about what's in there. Which is why you'll see that it's a detailed, long article. But if you go to any search engine and you look for this material, it's in the public domain practically. It's visible on other websites.
Yes, but practically
it's not just a Wikipedia at the top, but it's out there.
But you say it's a very detailed discussion, but actually what it shows quite boldly are the 10 ink spots with the most obvious responses to it. Now, you have a concerns of a psychologist here. If someone came to you and said, if a psychologist came and said to you, the fact that you have the Rorschach test so clearly and distinctively placed on your website, the fact that it's there at all is potentially damaging to the practice of future psychologists, would you take it down?
Well, you know what? I'll tell you one thing. As a representative, as somebody who works with the Wikimedia Foundation, we operate Wikipedia. The reality is that it's an open platform. I think Dr. Nishat brought that point up. It is an open platform, which means that fundamentally the reason Wikipedia exists,
I have to interrupt you. I'm sorry, we're running out of time.
Citizens can do that.
I'm sorry, we're running out of time here, so I must interrupt you. I'm saying, if it could be shown that by showing the Rorschach test so prominently, you were doing damage to potentially patients, distorting results and so forth, would you take it down? You have the power to take it down. It's not just some great kind of anarchic website. You have the power to take it down.
It's actually it is more complicated than saying that I have or the foundation has the power. I think that we'd like to see more people participate in this discussion. I think if there was compelling evidence within the discussion on the article that came out,
look at Wikipedia, there are types of information that they do not publish, like you can't find how to make a bomb or something. Yeah. Then obviously they have a moral position they take. And your question is very right. If we're sure that it could be harmful to patient to be exposed to the test, and they are not doing anything about it, then we could really question the moral position of Wikipedia.
Well, thank you both very much. Tomorrow morning's front pages, the FT, banks boost recovery hopes. Moving on to The Guardian, banks defend, bonus cultures, profits jump. And their PM's going on a summer holiday, social working for a week or two. Apparently he's going to be doing community work in Kirkcaldy. Get a few voters out of that, perhaps. That's all we have time for tonight, I'm afraid. I'll be back tomorrow. Until then, from all of us here, a very good night.